compensation you're entitled to. Call 800-854-7903 for your free legal consultation. Again, that's 800-854-7903.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
We make fresh pizza that you bake at home.
Go, Dad.
Because at home, pizza means game on.
Yes!
Right now, get our signature pepperoni pizza for just $9.
Rematch?
Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
Stock up for school with 40 to 70% off almost everything and deals from $13. Find it all at Gap Factory and gapfactory.com through August 10th.
And save big on all the delicious ingredients that summer brings. Like this week's amazingly affordable Foster Farms whole fryer chicken on sale for just 77 cents a pound. And get 18 ounces of sweet blueberries or 2 pounds of juicy strawberries on sale for only $3.97 each. Enjoy these awesome deals in-store or online with your neighborhood Rayleigh's in Bel Air.
Don't imagine. Do it with the Rewatch podcasts on the free iHeart app. From Scrubs to The Sopranos, One Tree Hill to The Office, and dozens more. Start from the beginning or pick your favorite episode and get behind-the-scenes stories and never-before-heard secrets from the set. The show may be over, but the conversations keep going on these TV Rewatch podcasts. Just open the app and search for Rewatch, the free iHeart app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. We've been good old boys down south and all around the world. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on the beautiful. It is actually August the 3rd, 2021. Gone to the Borges. Bonjour. Big C Sports coming to you all around the world on the Big C Sports Podcast. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. I mean, you go by and test drive yours. Just tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Of course, never stop arriving. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Charlton as the sports leader. And I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. You better have a smart TV. You'll be sitting there looking at a picture. Man, I love pausing. I love pausing like Steph Curry didn't pause on that $200+ million contract they sent in a day. But I would never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If anyone is needing help from the Veterans Crisis Hotline, all you got to do is pick up your phone and make that call. You call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255 to get some help. Also, you can go to texting at 838-255. That's 838-255 and get our veterans some help. Also, if you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net and get some veterans some help. Also, I'm very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, home of the San Francisco Giants, the first place San Francisco Giants, and the home run king, as well as the say, hey kid, It's all fair and love and war when you reach out to them. Just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple. I want some World Series tickets. we want to reach out to hire 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to help put their property listings on TV, put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, sports teams are doing it, watch TV, and real estate work for you, 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Also, I want to say this segment is sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on your game. It's all fair and love and war. We have the Olympics coming to you. We have a lot of good stuff with football starting off. We have the Summer League starting in Northern California for basketball. A couple of basketball teams getting together at the Golden One Center. HBCU football schedules. Also, the Olympics. NBC has over 180 different reporters covering the Olympics. But I just want to say today, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You got to be careful when you do that. There are a lot of raccoons, not raccoons, but squirrels. They look like raccoons because I've been giving them so many cheese puffs, and they've been in my backyard laying out on the hammock. Got to make sure they don't do that. You can also say it's okay to come and keep walking, but don't come and lay up and try to establish a home. But it's all fair. I guess the squirrels don't read as well as some people do when you say no trespassing signs. All fair and love and war. But you know what I want to do? I want to get back to this breaking news that happened. You know, Steph Curry, I think I got a beef to pick with the NBA because my name is Charlton Curry, and I was expecting to sign a $215 million extension. $215 million. And so I was waiting. I knew the money should have showed up. I was checking my bank account like every 2 or 3 minutes. Checking my bank account. I even called my bank. They said, no, Mr. Curry, we don't see any wire of $215 million. And so obviously, if you're expecting a wire of $215 million, you might be a little bit perturbed if it shows up late. And so I told you I've been getting about 3 hours of sleep every night. I cleaned off my glasses and I realized it was Steph Curry that signed a $215 million contract. You know what I mean? The last name Curry. I said just take the first name off in the contract. It should go through if that makes sense to you. But the great Steph Curry, hopefully we'll be sitting down with Charlton of Big C Sports later in the year as we get closer to the basketball season. But he agrees to a $215 million contract extension. Just happened today in the Bay Area. And when you think about it, the Warrior star agreed to a 4-year, $215 million contract. That happened today. And he's only 33 years old. That's a young age. And what's he going to do with $215 million extra dollars? You know, it's a lot of money. I guess living in the Bay Area, you kind of need that much money to just buy a nice home. It's just a joke. But sometimes it seems like it. But when you think about it, he's the first player in NBA history to sign a pair of contracts more than $200 million. And that's why I was telling the bank, you know, my last name's Curry. Isn't that good enough? They said no, so you got to have a 3-point shot. I said, a 3-point shot? I can shoot threes. It doesn't mean I shoot them as well as Steph Curry. But when you think about the extension, it's going to keep Steph Curry in Golden State through the 2025 to 2026 season, bearing any kind of trade. And he'll earn about let's just round up, $60 million in the final year of his deal. Curry's eligible to hit free agency after the 2021-22 season before today's contract was reached. And when I think about it, Curry's 12 seasons with the Warriors have coincided with the most successful stretch in franchise history. We think about guys like Rick Barry that was doing his thing with the Golden State Warriors. We've had so many great players. Mullen was doing his thing, and Hardaway, obviously. One of my favorite guys was Rod Higgins. People don't think about it. Great Rod Higgins out of Fresno State. That was part of the Golden State Warriors. But when you think about Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, of course, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, there's a lot of good guys that have played in Golden State Warriors. Nate do this thing. The great Nate Thurman had a stint with the Golden State Warriors and the typewriters in the Bay Area with the San Francisco Chronicle was going off. Everybody loved the great Nate's barbecue. Never saw a rib you didn't want to eat. But when you think about Curry and his contract and how he's just a crowd pleaser, this guy does everything by the book. He's almost as good looking. I'll just say this. He's a good looking Curry. Okay, we'll just look at that. He's a lot better looking with that $215 million. I'm sure a lot of women around the sports universe would agree $215 million makes everybody a lot better looking. He's already a good looking Chad. But when you think about it, led to 3 Golden State championships and 5 straight finals appearances from 2015 to 2019. He's earned 7 All-NBA selections since 2014. And then Curry's the Warriors franchise leader in 3 assists, in threes. When you think about it, assists and points. It's weird talking about my own name in the $215 million because I keep checking my bank account. I say, I see some money, but I don't see the $215 million. Imagine going into the bank wanting to have an argument with the bank manager because you heard on the news that Curry got $215 million and you don't sit in your bank. That's all fair, love, and war. But when you think about it, Golden State and what they've done, they look to return to the finals. That's a lot of conversation people are talking about, finishing 39-33 last season. Not a good thing, not for them, but we know it was COVID and a lot of other things. Klay Thompson is out. But Klay Thompson, that three-point shooter, Klay Thompson for 3! He's actually going to join back up with the team this year as they tip off for the regular season. He comes back after tearing his Achilles, and then the Warriors will look to incorporate recent lottery picks James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, and also Moses Moody. I really like what Golden State has done with Steph Curry. He's a player that has always, his brother also, they got a lot of money in that Curry household. Christmas should not be a problem with his brother also playing NBA basketball. His father, Dale Curry, played NBA basketball. But I think when you think about Steph Curry and what it means for the Golden State Warriors, he's a model of consistency. His beautiful wife, Aisha, she's also had her own success. Whether she got success on her own, I guess, ambition. It's nice when you have 2 people that work together and they can have different careers, but they have that lineage that works well, and they've done that in that Curry family. So really appreciate him and what he's done. Hopefully we'll get him on the Big C Sports podcast later in the basketball season, and he can bring some of that $215 million, and he can have that as a motivator, like the carrot, the stick, all fair in love and war. So when you think about Steph Curry, came out of Davidson College, wasn't the biggest guy, but he's definitely put on a lot more size. He's definitely been in the weight room, lifting weights, and doing everything that it takes in order to put on that size and to build his frame a lot larger. So again, when you have young players that are seeing all around the country that they want to be the next superstar athlete, butterflies flying all over Northern California, all you got to do, I can't say all you got to do, but I can tell you what he did. He changed his body. He changed the way that he looks. He doesn't look like the fragile player that came out of Davidson. He's a lot more developed. You can see his size and his muscles and his arms, and he's come onto the scene, and he's really setting the NBA on fire. He had one of his greatest seasons last year, I believe, and that was during the COVID season. So Steph Curry, the new $215 million. Congratulations, you deserve it. And I apologize to my bank. I thought it was when they said Curry $215 million. I went down to the bank and I was talking to the manager. They said I gotta have the first name too. So I understand. All fair and love and war. Congratulations, Steph Curry. Also for Northern California, the Kings, Sacramento Kings, they announced the California Classic is a summer league roster. The Sacramento Kings, they announced the team's roster for the 3rd annual California Classic, beautiful downtown Sacramento Golden West Center, and it's happening today. And they're going to be a couple, like 4 teams. Sacramento Kings will play 2 games beginning the first contest today, August 3rd, and against Golden State. It's not going to be Steph Curry, but also that starts at about 8 p.m. And then there's another game that are scheduled with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Miami Heat. They're going to also be part of that California Classic. The great Arnold Schwarzenegger at beautiful downtown Sacramento, right off the Sacramento River and beautiful downtown. So a lot of people can be a part of that in the Central Valley if they're looking forward to going to see some NBA basketball So much is happening. We just finished the NBA Finals in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the Milwaukee Bucks defeated the Phoenix Suns, and we know what happened with the good old boys and Chris Paul, his big contract, signing that extension with the Phoenix Suns. So he's going to be there probably until he's decided to turn in his basketball shoes. All's fair in love and war if he doesn't get put aside by the State Farm commercials first. It's all fair in love and war. Congratulations to everybody making that money. Also, the NBA world reacts to the Los Angeles Lakers free agency. It's like they're going after everybody on the world tour, on the back nine of their career, it seems. Nothing wrong with that. They need LeBron James. They need Anthony Davis to be healthy. And then Russell Westbrook's going to help out too, just a matter of how they fit him in. But after bowing out of the playoffs in the first round this year, the Los Angeles Lakers were the defending champions. They have 17 championships to their franchise. They expected to make some major changes this offseason, but no one could have really thought about how they would go about it because they got a lot of older players. In the first 24 hours since the official start of free agency, when you think about it, the Lakers general manager, Rob Pelinka, has completely overhauled the roster, giving LeBron James and Anthony Davis like a complimentary group of veterans to round out the team for 2021. And when you think about it, as soon as free agency began, it actually began on Monday. A lot of guys were scrambling all over the country to get on different teams, but the Lakers started making their moves. And the first thing that happened is just over an hour after veteran forward Trevor Ariza and sharpshooter Wayne Ellington agreed to one-year deals to come aboard. Now, they're getting kind of minimum wages. Of course, when you hear Steph Curry sign $215 million, a lot of good old boys getting some minimum deals. But the floodgates open for the Lakers. They brought back a guy that I really thought would help them, his big, broad shoulders, the great Dwight Howard. He agreed to a one-year deal, marking his third career stint with the LA Lakers. And also Kent Bazemore came back to the team for the first time since the 2014 season. And the biggest bombshell dropped today, actually, when the great Carmelo Anthony, that good old boy out of Syracuse and doing his thing at Denver and then up in Portland, and has been around, been with the Knicks, been with a lot of good teams, but they signed that the great Carmelo Anthony is going to team up with LeBron James for the first time in his career. That's amazing because they're both on the back nine of their careers. So will they be able to compete with the younger legs of maybe players like in Golden State or even the younger legs down in Phoenix or the younger legs over in Denver? We will see. The Lakers round out with a whirlwind 24 hours by signing 3 guards who are going to provide the team with much-needed three-point shooting. Malik Monk. Monk agreed to yet another one-year deal. And Taylor Horton Tucker, he agreed to a deal, as well as Kendrick Nunn signed multi-year contracts. So when you think about it, Trevor Ariza 1 year, Wayne Ellington 1 year, Dwight Howard 1 year, Kent Bazemore 1 year, the great Carmelo Anthony 1 year, and you would think about it, Malik Monk 1 year, Taylor Horton Tucker 3 years, $32 million, Kendrick Nunn 2 years, and $10 million. Of course, they were really happy to see that Steph Curry got $215 million. But it's all fair in love and war. The Lakers did part ways with members from last year, and they had to, even though COVID showed up and knocked them out of the playoffs along with Phoenix. But in free agency such as Alex Caruso going to the Bulls, Andre Drummond, I thought they could have, he had kind of hit and miss season. Drummond didn't have the lift on his leg, and the LA Thomas all over that. But when you think about Drummond's going to the 76ers, Markieff Morris to the Heat, Miami Heat. The great Dennis Schroeder is also expected to move on to another team. But fans were quick to point out the new look Lakers are filled with older players. They say, if you want love, ladies, find an old man or as an old player. I mean, whatever it is, if you need love, you got to find old men. Or is it old players? Or is it old money? I know it's something to do with old. Old money, old men, whatever it is, all fair, love, and war. But I really, that again, the Lakers signed one-year deals with these players. It's not as if they're trying to take these players into the next 3 or 4 years of their NBA success. But they have the writings on the wall. The Lakers know what it takes to win. They've been winning for many, many years. And I know that it's time to rise and shine. They'll find a way to put together a good winning staff again. And they've done that over the years. I mean, ever since they become an organization. So the Bucks family, they know what they're doing. I really like that LeBron James is willing to bring in older players And you might think, why is he bringing in older players? You got to get young in the NBA. So why is he bringing in older players? My thinking is, you know their habits. You know their work habits to stay healthy. You know that they know what it's going to take to become a part of that Laker legacy, which means that you're going to acquiesce to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Even Russell Westbrook, they have 3 guys that are making all the money. A lot of other players, even Dwight Howard. You can't just go out into middle America and get a job that pays you $1 million. It's hard to do that unless you're in Hollywood, and it seems like $1 million are like handshakes. But for the Lakers and what it means for them and their quest for an NBA championship, I don't know if they got better, because you look at Giannis Antetokounmpo, King Giannis, how he got stronger down the stretch. I don't see players with older legs getting stronger down the stretch. Even LeBron James, not what he was 10 years ago. But if you have that consistency in that low post game, that tells you what the Lakers' plans are. They're not going to be a fast break team. LeBron's not going to run the fast break. Anthony Davis is not going to be running the fast break. Russell Westbrook, he can run a fast break because he never tires out. He's like the Energizer Bunny. But you're going to have a lower post game where you feed the ball into Davis. And maybe they'll learn what they learned when they won the championship, beating Miami down in the bubble. What Milwaukee did this year with King Giannis Antetokounmpo, you have that big guy down in the paint that Big C talked about, and let him go eat. It's easier to eat when you're down in the paint as opposed to being outside trying to shoot for 3. And what does Steph Curry's contract do today? It made a lot of guys think to work on their 3-point basket. But if you watch Steph Curry, he never stops moving around. Offensively, defensively, that good a boy, he's always moving around on the court. So he's earned that $200+ million extension because Golden State has that nearly $2 billion Chase Center over in San Francisco, just south of downtown San Francisco, right on the bay. It's one of the most beautiful arenas out there. I wish they would have put more glass on it to allow you to see pictures of the Bay Area when you're inside, but there's not a lot of windows looking outside. But it's still a great thing for the Golden State Warriors, and I really appreciate having great basketball in Northern California. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout, in the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger. We'll come back and talk more about some other NBA teams in the sweep. I guess you could call it sweeps week. Sweeping up all those great players, those old guys and young guys. Ladies, if you want a good man, get an old man. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we're back for the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Effect TV, Comcast Spotlight. I really want to say thank them for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and just say play Big C Sports Podcast, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. I like this reading that I've been reading in the Bible. I've been getting about 3 hours of sleep, and as it says, Ephesians 3:20, that God is able to do exceedingly above and beyond all you can think or ask. And I really appreciate that as more things are happening with the lack of sleep, but more prayer. Also, back to the NBA news, the report that the Trailblazers and Snell agreed to a deal, reportedly have agreed to a 1-year deal with Tony Snell, and that's going to be, I guess that's already in the works of being signed. We talked about Carmelo Anthony signing with the Los Angeles Lakers. Really happy for him. He's a good person, good player. Been out there doing his thing for a long time. I remember him at Syracuse. Helped Syracuse win their last national championship under the great Jimmy Boeheim. And when you think about Anthony, he passed Elvin Hayes for 10th on the all-time scoring list this last season, and is 40 points from passing Hall of Famer Moses Malone. That's record news. So the fact that he's going to pass Moses Malone for number 9 on the list, on the all-time points list, it's going to do it in a Laker uniform. And that to me, it just shows that, of course, the Lakers care more about adding to their legacy. It's going to be done when he's in that uniform also. And then again, talking about Steph Curry, really proud of Steph Curry. Love his last name, 2-time former Kia MVP winner. The only unanimous MVP winner in the NBA, adding to his lore once again, a $215 million contract, and will become the first player to sign 2 career $200 million deals. Really, that's a 4-year, $215 million deal. God, I want a $415 million if you add up what he did on his 2 deals. And then the Lakers, Monk reached that. They already did their agreement. He's a former number 11 pick at the 2017 draft, average at a career best 11.7 points a game. In his career, 34% three-point shooter, had a career best from season deep in 2020, making it about 40% of his three-pointers. I mean, that can be an illusion. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. And then you look at, also Patty Mills have agreed with a 2-year deal worth $12 million with the Brooklyn Nets. I remember Patty Mills came out of St. Mary's College in Moraga here in the Bay Area. So congratulations to him. St. Mary's Gale doing his thing. He spent the past 10 seasons at San Antonio, playing a crucial role off the bench in the Spurs 2014 championship and 2013 finals team. When you think about his shooting, 41% overall, 37% from 3, not really going to help or hurt Brooklyn. They need Durant to do his thing, and James Harden, and then, of course, Kyrie Irving whenever he's ready. Reports that the Pelicans agreed to a deal. Didi Lazuda will be staying in New Orleans, and they're looking like, it's not really that much of a statement because 2.7 points and 1 rebound in just 3 games, not that great. But when you look at the Phoenix Suns, the NBA runner-up team, they keep Nader and Fowl on a 2-year deal. Abdul Nader will be staying put in Phoenix, the hot Phoenix, a 2-year deal coming out of the city of Phoenix, Arizona. He arrived in Phoenix last season in a trade that moved to the great Chris Paul from the Phoenix, actually to the Phoenix Suns from Oklahoma City, and he was injured, limited to 24 games in 2020-21 season. Only 6.7 points a game and 2.5 rebounds. From the field, he shoots 50%. From 3, he shoots 42%. So he looks pretty decent. There's another great kid out of San Joaquin Memorial High School, the Panthers in Fresno, California. Robin Lopez and the Orlando Magic reached a deal, and it looks like a 1-year deal. It's going to be down there in Orlando. He averages 9 points a game, 3.8 rebounds a game. Robin Lopez, his brother Brooke, plays for the defending world champion Milwaukee Bucks. Did his thing in the NBA Finals. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. I think Andre Drummond, I thought he had a little hitch in his giddy-up last year. Signing with Doc Rivers, a 76ers 1-year deal. And it's looking like, he's one of the big men out there in the free agent market. I thought the Lakers were going to get more out of him last year. He's a former 2-time All-Star, former 4-time rebounding champion, and obviously he's going to help out the great Joel Embiid when Embiid goes to the bench. Really looking forward to that. There's good news out of Miami. The Heat, he posts farewell message to Heat fans. They have a busy day 1 of the free agency, reportedly landed Kyle Lowry. I think that's an upgrade in my opinion. In a deal former Toronto Raptors star confirmed on social media, and the deal's not really etched in stone, but Dragic took social media to thank the Heat fans for his time there. But I think if you can get the great Kyle Lowry comes with an NBA title. People might say that Claw did it and Kawhi Leonard, but Lowry was doing his thing also when Toronto got their championship. I really think that's great for them. And then Dragic's one of Miami's highest paid players in 2021, will be headed to Toronto as part of a deal to get Lowry. And so it's back and forth. One guy's going south of the border, the other guy's going north of the border. It's not the one that Trump wanted to build a wall. All's fair in love and war with borders. When you think about it, I'm telling you, basketball has a lot of good left in it. We've seen the bubble. We've seen the NBA pull it off. Nearly COVID-free in the bubble this past season. A couple of guys had some issues, but they made NBA basketball work. Also, when you think about the Nets, reportedly at forward, they got a forward James Johnson, a rugged player known for his rebounding and defensive work, a 12-year NBA veteran, spent the 2020-21 season with the Dallas Mavericks down in J.R. Ewing country, averaged 7 points a game, 3.5 rebounds per game, and mostly served as a reserve throughout his NBA career. But then I also like what happened in Milwaukee. Before we come up on the next Big C pause, the Bucks add Hood. Rodney Hood is a move that's going to help the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. Not that they need any more help, but you gotta keep expanding. If you're not expanding, it makes it more time or more difficult to get back on top. But Hood was traded from the Portland Trail Blazers to the Raptors at the trade deadline last season, coming back from a torn Achilles suffered in 2019. known best for his three-point shooting at 37%, despite a down season last year. When you think about what he's done after seeing P.J. Tucker reportedly head to Miami in free agency, we'll just see if that's still in the works. I haven't gotten the finals on that. But it's a lot of good stuff happening in the world of the NBA. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow Big C Sports, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, "Let there be light." Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way they've grown with Big C Sports. I love doing the voice thing. When I was 8 years old, my grandmother touched me on the forehead. We called her Grandma Curry. I'm sure she would have been happy to see that Curry sign that $215 million contract. I would have said, hold on, Grandma. That's the other Curry. It's all just called a Curry from another mother. It's all crazy. All fair in 11 war. It's all fair in 11 war. I want to say a game that I love so much, I struck out 11 batters in one game. I was pitching in an All-Star game. Okay, I was a little leaguer, okay? It wasn't worth $215 million. But, hey, I told that to the bank officer. You know I struck out 11 batters in one game? He said, so? It's all fair in 11 war. The pitch hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. Today is scheduled for Major League Baseball. A beautiful Tuesday, August 3rd. Philadelphia is at Washington, and you have Patrick Corbin going against Zach Wheeler. Them good boys are doing their thing. And when you think about the baseball season, there's a lot of good players all over this country that are really stepping up because they're getting close to October. The pitch hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend, the great Tony Montana. And you have Baltimore. They are at the New York Yankees. And the Yankees, I'm telling you, the Yankees are starting to play baseball like they want to win again. Alexander Wells going against Gleyber Torres on the mound for those two great ball clubs. For the Yankees, they're going to make some noise, and we'll see if their noise, will it last like a rocket lifting off in outer space, or will it be a firecracker that comes back down to earth? I think it's going to be like a rocket. I really do see that. The Cleveland Gladiators at the Toronto Blue Jays. The pitch hit deep. Left field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. You have Hyun-Jin Ryu pitching against Harold Ramirez. Them good boys are doing their thing, and the Blue Jays are looking to, they have one of the better hitters in baseball, and it's just a matter of time. They get the chance to field some home cookings for a change very soon up in the great country of Canada. We have the Seattle Mariners taking on the Tampa Bay Rays down in Florida. The pitch hit deep, center field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. You have Yosei Kelechi as well as Wander Franco on the mound for the two great ball clubs. Jacob deGrom still has that hitch in his giddy-up when it comes to the New York Mets, but you have the New York Mets taking on the Miami Marlins, and the Miami Marlins, they're like Jekyll and Hyde. Sometimes they win and sometimes they don't show up, but you have pitching Juan Walker and Alex Jackson doing their thing on the mound for the Mets and also the Miami Marlins. We have another big game. The Boston Red Sox taking on the Detroit Tigers. The pitch hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend in the city that Joe Louis built. Motown, Detroit. Them good boys taking on the Red Sox from Boston. Garrett Richards as well as Akil Baddoo is pitching, and that kind of should be a game that I think the Red Sox, they're feeling themselves. They're a team that's right there with Tampa, but the New York Yankees, they're right there nipping at the heels. So the Red Sox got to hold on to that mojo that they've had, because I picked them to be one of the top teams in Major League Baseball going to the postseason. That's my word. I'm sticking with it. All fair in 11 war. We go over to the beautiful city of Cincinnati in the state of Ohio. The Minnesota Twins are in Cincinnati. The pitch hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Them good old boys as they're splashing out into the river behind the beautiful stadium in Cincinnati. They're taking on the Minnesota Twins. Kent Maeda and Matt Schock are doing their thing on the mound. Really looking forward to seeing what happens in that contest. And we go down in Texas where they have this beautiful $1 billion stadium. They just built it down in Arlington, but they only average about 18,000 fans in a $1 billion stadium. So for all the people saying, fill the dreams, if you build it, they will come, that may or may not be true. We have the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim taking on the Texas Rangers, and they've already been warned, in Texas, bring your own Gatorade. All fair and level, where the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! The great Shohei Ohtani goes yard again. All fair and level war. Jose Suarez and Jordan Lyles are on the mound for them good old boys down in Texas. We have another great matchup. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they're on the road. They're playing the Milwaukee Brewers. And again, the streets of Milwaukee are still being cleaned out because they didn't have enough porta potties when the Milwaukee Bucks won a championship, and they were bragging on TV. We have 50,000, 40,000, 100,000 people in the streets outside of Pfizer Center, but they didn't have enough outhouses. So sometimes you got to clean up behind people who come into your yard and they don't use the outhouse. They rather just use the floor. All fair and level. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. The Milwaukee Brewers in a beautiful ballpark. They're entertaining them good old boys from Pittsburgh. On the mound, you have Matt Kranick and then Adrian Hauser at home for Milwaukee. Should be another great game. Looking forward to Milwaukee. They're really playing some really good baseball, in my opinion. Something about Milwaukee. The Green Bay Packers, they'll be one of the top teams also in the NFL now that they have touchdown Aaron Rodgers back in the Dallas all fair and level war. Another great game. Starts at 8:10 p.m. East Coast time. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. The Kansas City Royals are taking on the great Tony La Russa and the Chicago White Sox, and you have Chris Bubick is the away pitcher, and Dylan Cease is actually the home pitcher for Chicago. That good old boy, I really like the way La Russa stands up for his players. If you throw at any of his batters, you better believe La Russa is going to come out of the dugout. It might take him a whole day to get there, but that good old boy is going to go up, and it might take him a year or a day, but he's going to go defend his players. Really appreciate that he stands up for his players. What a great Darley Parton say, stand by your men. They say older men are better men in relationships. For you young ladies out there, swiper left and swiper right, find an old man who's been around the block, if that makes sense to you. All fair in 11 war. And when I say old, I mean older than 30, okay? So don't get mad at me if you're 75 years old and you're dating a 25-year-old. That happens in California. All fair in 11 war. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. The Atlanta Braves, they are in the beautiful city of St. Louis, Missouri, taking on the Cardinals. And you have Max Fried is the away pitcher, and John Lester's at home pitching for St. Louis. Has to get his ERA is a little too high. It's 5.02 ERA. Has to improve on that. But we will see what happens with baseball in the beautiful city of St. Louis, Missouri. The Chicago Cubs at the Colorado Rockies. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend at Coors Field. I think the time was 4:20 was the first pitch. It's all fair in 11 war, but the Rockies doing their thing. They're probably going to come in the maybe second to last place in the National League West, because the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres, a little bit of pause with Fernando Tatis on the men, but we'll see those top teams in the top three. Going to be the Giants winning the World Series. And away pitcher Zach Davies going in to pitch with Kyle Freeman's 1-6 with a 4.52 ERA. It might be a game that the Cubs can go in there and win, but the Cubs are depleted. They've gotten rid of everybody. Even Santa Claus got kicked out of Chicago. They got tired of having people win at Wrigley Field. And I'm telling you, so much going on in baseball. And I really think Giants got lucky last night. They had a big lead, and they almost let it get away, but they came back. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. I'm telling you, the Giants, they're rolling. I think they will win the National League this year. I'm picking them to be in the World Series because I want to get tickets, and it's easier to walk to Oracle Park than it's getting on a plane going somewhere. But the Giants, when you think about what they've done, they're 32-22 away. The Diamondbacks, they're 20-33 at home. Johnny Cueto's on the mound. He's 7-5 with a 3.84 ERA. He's going against the last guy that won a World Series for the Giants, Madison Bumgarner, who's 5-6 with a 4.87 ERA. So I really like what you have in the San Francisco Giants taking on the guy that got them a World Series back in the day. But that's in the past, and we're dealing with the future now. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. I love this team like the little engine that could. The Oakland Athletics, they are 30-24 at home. The Padres are 25-25 away. They don't have Tatis Jr. because he's on the mend with that shoulder issue. Don't be surprised if the A's find a way to win this one. I know the Padres are still going to challenge for the National League. They're not going to come in first place. But they're challenging for a spot in some kind of wild card scenario. And Blake Snell is on the mound for the Padres. He's 4-4 with a 5.44 ERA. And he's taking on Sean Manaea. He's 8-6 and 3.01 ERA for the Oakland A's. Should be a game that Oakland A's can win. And then we come away down at Chavez Ravine, as some people in Las Vegas feel that these two teams have a chance to end up in the National League championship game, the ALCS championship game with the Dodgers and also the Astros. Maybe the Astros and maybe the Red Sox, and maybe the Giants and the Dodgers. Wouldn't that be something to see the Giants and the Dodgers playing in the NLCS between San Francisco and Los Angeles? The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. Everybody loves LA. The Dodgers are at home. They are 33-18 at home. But the Astros are 30-22 away. Dusty Baker's the manager. He played for the Dodgers back in the day. That good boy knows how to manage. Lance McCullers is a pitcher for the Astros, and he's 8-2. And his ERA is 3.32. But he's going up against that good boy by the name of Walker Buehler. He's 11-1. His ERA, 2.19. You're watching tonight. If it's not going to be the Giants in the World Series out of the National League, it might be the LA Dodgers out of the National League. But for those of you baseball aficionados that love to see pitching and hitting, you're going to see it tonight at Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine. You have, again, Walker Buehler, 2.19 ERA. He's 11-1. And Lance McCullers Jr. is at 8-2 in the season with a 3.23 ERA. That's talking about baseball being played the way it's supposed to play. And I know it's going to be a great baseball series. And I don't know who's going to win that series. And even if you do win that series, it doesn't mean that you're going to go on and have better greatness. Because this baseball is so loaded this year. Really looking forward to what's going to happen as we chase October for the World Series. This is Big C Sports bringing it to you. Really love the opportunity and the growth with Big C Sports. Having the time of our life. Been doing this sports broadcasting since about 1986, actually 1996, but I did it also in college. I was on the media department and at my university, and also going to have my son reporting with some college athletes around the country as we're going to try to open the door for some of the college athletes to do their field reporting with Big C Sports. Just put together a 60-second clip of what's going on in your conference, and we'll see how far that can take you. Big C Sports will give you that opportunity. I was given that opportunity. The great Lewis Johnson opened some doors for me when I got into broadcast, gave me some pointers when he was doing the Olympics, met him at Arizona State, Stafford. Also, Big C over the years has given me many pointers as he did TV and radio, all fair and love and war. But in the Olympics, all the way across the Pacific Ocean in Japan, Tokyo, Japan, Simone Biles has changed what it means to be an elite gymnast. When you think about what she's done, she's 24 years old. On Tuesday, she closed out her Olympics on her own terms. She did it her way, the great Frank Sinatra. She did it her way as a two-time bronze medalist on the beam and then the most accomplished American gymnast in the history of the universe. When you think about it, for the Americans, that young woman, 24 years old, doing her thing, I really appreciate it. She was dealing with some mental issues. Everybody's dealing with mental issues because we all sometimes need to look at that person in the mirror. The great John Wynn has a movie called Mirror, Mirror. Everyone should check it out. John Wynn, owner of the Wynn Network, good friend, all friend, love, war. But in Tokyo, When you think about it, you're not going to have lasting images of her quitting. She returned to competition under great scrutiny and pressure to earn perhaps the final Olympics medal of her career. I doubt that. She's only 24. She says she wasn't even expecting the medal on the beam. After the meet, she says she was just trying to hit one more beam set to move on to more opportunities to compete, and the Olympics meant a lot to her. She did not confirm whether or not she will train for more Olympics in 2024. I believe she will, because champions don't quit, and she's going to probably be back. But she led the United States team to gold in the 2016 Rio Olympics. She posted a boomerang on Instagram of you can go on a pepperoni pizza, happiness. It's amazing. She received more than 100,000 likes, because for people dealing with any type of mental hang-up, I've also got my own counseling, because I talked to some athletes and doctors. You'd be a fool not to go take your car to get a checkup. Oh, I got a beautiful car. Why would it need to get a checkup? They tell you got to get a checkup for that vehicle. They have a vehicle on the manufacturer's recommended maintenance. And when you think about it, Simone Biles talking to her team during the Olympics finals, she let them know that she wasn't feeling her best. But I really appreciate that. I won't say sucked it up, because that's kind of I guess an impassionate way of saying that someone is worthy. We all go through challenges. Smart people get help. The braggadocious people, sometimes they don't get help. They sit there and they stupor over things, and it doesn't always work out for the best. So I really appreciate what she was able to do with the Olympics, because every young girl that's going through something, oftentimes they have no one to talk to. But for her to say that she's the best in the world, in fact the best in the universe, and she's able to say she has some problems, who are you? I think she's a role model to a lot of young girls all over the world that want to look up and see somebody that they agree with. I just want to talk about something that's happened in the world of the Olympics. NBC Sports, along with Big C Sports also, I was able to interview August Wesley out of Cape Verde for their country, and then his son, Anthony Wesley, and there are two Olympians that were on Big C Sports podcast. But when you think about NBC Sports, a record 180 commentators joined NBC Sports Olympic coverage of the games and from Tokyo, Japan. Well, Big C Sports is also a part of that. As a podcast that's black-owned, to have Olympic athletes on Big C Sports podcast. I was very honored to do that. And as you think about NBC, 180 commentators joined NBC's coverage in Japan. The talent roster has won 102 Olympic medals, including 62 gold. Mike Tirico, the host NBC prime time show, is from outdoor set overlooking Tokyo skyline. The opening ceremony at Tokyo Olympics on Friday, July 23rd, when it kicked off on NBC Sports. Sanford, Connecticut, Mike Tirico records. Think about this. Leads a record 180 NBC Olympics commentators, as NBC Universal presents more than 7,000 hours of coverage. Think about that for the games at the Olympiad in Tokyo, Japan. Across NBC, USA Network, CNBC, NBCSN, Golf Channel, Peacock Olympic Channel, home of Team USA, Telemundo Universal, the NBC Sports app, and NBCOlympics.com, as well as Big C Sports podcast, bringing you live coverage of Olympic athletes. Also, I've gotten so many hits from Olympic Village from different countries that have been following Big C Sports, thanks to the Olympian Committee and also August Wesley and Anthony Wesley Jr. Really appreciate you pushing Big C Sports out there. So it's not just NBC Sports that's getting a lot of hits. Big C Sports podcast, as Charlton was interviewing the great August Wesley and also Anthony Wesley Jr. in podcast. The roster includes Olympians who won a combined 102 Olympic medals, 62 gold, 19 silver, 16 bronze, and then Team NBC would have finished second in the Rio medal count, ahead of China and Great Britain and behind Team USA. But I feel so honored, as my mom always says, rise and shine, and my father says, develop your mind to its highest extent, that Big C Sports podcast that started in 2015 was actually on the map of broadcast podcasting covering the Olympic athletes. I really appreciate that, because it meant a lot to me to make that happen, that God opened up that avenue. NBC Olympics commentators of note, Mike Tirico serves as NBC Olympics primetime host for the second time after hosting primetime coverage at 18 Olympics and Winter Games. He also hosts Prime Plus late coverage. Rebecca Lobo also served as the host of NBC's daytime coverage, making her fourth assignment as an NBC Olympics host. And then the great Maria Taylor came over from ESPN, served as host of Prime Plus as a correspondent. Amit Freed and Lam McHugh, as well as Captain Tap, will also host coverage on USA Networks. I appreciate being able to add Big C Sports Podcast to that list of networks that covered great Olympians. Among the Olympians on Team NBC, four-time U.S. Olympic track and field gold medalist Sonia Richards-Ross, a four-time Trinidad Tobago Olympic track and field medalist Olive Bolden, 2008 U.S. Olympic gymnast and medalist Natasha Lukin, and then also two-time U.S. Olympic gymnast medalist Tim Daggett. I mean, there's so much that I appreciate being part of, just coming into the same conversation. We think about the great Michael Phelps, who's won more total Olympic medals, 28, and gold medals, 23, than anyone in history. So to have Big C Sports mentioned and the likes of that, it really means a lot, and I really appreciate being a part of that on the Big C Sports Podcast. As so many people, they want to know, how do you make your star shine? How do you make your implant in the universe? Something to do with Matthew 7:7, asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find, knocking it shall be opened unto you. Remember, you have not because you ask not. I'm really trying to reach out to more NFL teams, NBA players. Hope to have Steph Curry on the Big C Sports Podcast later in the NBA season. But I'm also talking to colleges all around the country with my son Malcolm, that gave me the idea to get these young college kids to do a 60-second update. And if they make the cut, they'll be featured on Big C Sports Podcast. All we're doing is asking their entire school, their athletic department, and their faculty to follow Big C Sports Podcast. It's a quid pro quo to edify young people. I really want to do that, just like Big C Sports is now somewhat of a household name in the Olympic community because of the great August Wesley and his son, Anthony Jr. So I want to also bring up something that's important that I also, Big C Sports, wants to be a part of. In the SWAC, which is the HBCU college football this year, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has announced its 2021 SWAC football TV schedule, and it highlights a record number of games slated to be available on ESPN and other digital platforms. Also, some interviews with Big C Sports Podcast to have some conversations with some of the coaches of the HBCUs leading up to football kickoff. The 2021 slate of ESPN games also highlighted by several highly anticipated league classics. The Labor Day Classic featuring Prairie View A&M at Texas Southern, the Magic City Classic featuring Alabama A&M versus Alabama State, and the Florida Classic featuring Bethune-Cookman versus Florida A&M. It's all going to take center stage this upcoming season, and Big C Sports looks also to be part of that. That's why I'm telling young people, you can't always wonder what it's like working with somebody else. What I'm trying to bring to fruition, you have not because you ask not. Like Jesus said, if you love me, feed my sheep. I want to encourage other young people, start your own podcast. You don't need to wait for NBC Sports to make you one of 180 reporters. With podcasts, you can start your own. I'm asking every college, university around the country, follow Big C Sports Podcast. Because listening to my show, I do the editing, I do the producing, I do the broadcasting, the podcasting. I don't have a script. I don't have a producer in my ear. I learned in college how to get content, make sure you're accurate with the content. Sometimes you might miss a little bit. That's okay. You can Google it. But you always show up. You rise and shine. The guy that gave me a chance in media when I was in college, Bill Seamster, he said, you rise and shine. He said, Charlton, if I hire you, don't make excuses. Whether it's raining outside, whether it's cold or 100 degrees or foggy, you got to show up. You got to show up and rise and shine. That's how I tell my mother started me also. She would always send me newspapers before they had Google it. And I would just show up, rise and shine. And when I was in TV at my university, I was able to do a lot of production. I was able to do a lot of broadcasting. I was able to do a lot of interviews, editing, filming of content with entertainers and athletes and also politicians that came on campus. It was Charlton Curry's name on that. And I'll never forget that, because even when I was at the Super Bowl, my first Super Bowl 33 in San Diego, I was part of the Chiron Assist. It's everything that's impossible. And I just want young people to realize you can't say you don't have an opportunity if you follow Big C Sports. I'm just telling you, put the name out there with every college campus, from USC to UCLA, from Cal Berkeley to Stanford, Sacramento State, UC Davis, Fresno State, Washington State, Oregon, Arizona State. Whether you're Notre Dame, whether you are Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, whether you're Rutgers, whether you're Boston College, whether you are North Carolina, Wake Forest, University of Miami, Clemson, whether you're Florida, Florida State, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, mention the word Big C Sports, Oklahoma, Texas, we're out there. Colorado, Utah, BYU, we're all out there, part of Big C Sports. Boise State, Utah State, Hawaii, from sea to shining sea, Big C Sports is part of a $1 billion industry in the making, because sports is a $1 billion industry. And every year covering sports, it's just like practice on Monday. You got to say things before they happen as you rise and shine. And I really appreciate it. There's a lot of great broadcasters all over this country. But they showed up. Could you imagine, as I was talking to August Wesley and also Anthony Wesley Jr. about the Olympics, when they say, on your mark, get set, go, and you don't run. Imagine if you don't run the race. How are they going to edify you if you decide that you're not going to run when they say, on your mark, get set, go? That's why I tell young people, you got to show up. And my mother always told me, you rise and shine every day. You could have a headache, you rise and shine. You may not feel good, you rise and shine. You could have a teacher that maybe doesn't like you, you rise and shine. Somebody at work may not like you, but you rise and shine. You got to look at that man in the mirror. The great Michael Jackson told us that. And if I can just be, in my opinion, a conduit, the Noah's Ark, everyone needs an ark in their life. What if Noah didn't show up with the ark according to Scripture? How would we have the Big C burger? We know it's a tasty burger. We know it comes with exotic meats, but what if Noah didn't have the ark rounded up with animals? There would be no Big C burger. I'm just being flippant, but it's true. Everything in life starts with showing up. I don't care who you are, no matter what color you are, you got to show up. You got to show up. You got to rise and shine. So hopefully this year with more college kids, they'll be able to rise and shine as they follow Big C Sports. As I say, welcome to the show. I couldn't say welcome to the show if I decided not to show up. So I'm telling young people, show up. We're going to have football. It's about 36 days away kicking off the regular season, but we also have Thursday night football, which is going to be kicking off. Pittsburgh Steelers part of that kickoff. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen. Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys. As we look at some of the preseason college football, a lot of the rankings are already coming out. And again, everybody has their own opinion. Big C style, Big C sports style. Our thoughts on it, it's just opinions. It's called a preseason poll. I remember going back to buy the Sporting News magazines, Street and Smith magazine. It had all the preseason sports rankings for college football when I was in high school. So this year, obviously, they started out with Alabama, number 1. Finished last year at 13-0. Number 2, Clemson. They finished last year at 10-2. Number 3, they have Oklahoma preseason, number 3. Last year, they finished at 9-2. Number 4, Ohio State in their abbreviated season. They were 7-1 last year. Number 5, Georgia. They finished 8-2. Their preseason ranked number 5. They have a big game coming up with Clemson out non-conference game, as well as their in-conference game with Florida and also Alabama and Auburn, those great teams. Number 6, they won the they weren't Big 12 champions last year. They ran up to Oklahoma. But Iowa State, the Cyclones are making some noise. The great August Wesley, alumni of Ohio State. Also Anthony Jr., Wesley, alumni of Iowa State. Them good boys finished 9-3 last year. They beat Oregon in a bowl game. Number 7, preseason, top 10 college football, Big C Sports. Texas A&M, they were 9-1 last year, had that loss to Alabama, and they had a chance they were hoping they could get in to the SEC championship game, but they chose Florida because they did have that one loss, and Florida ended up losing to Alabama. Number 8, preseason college football, Big C Sports, is North Carolina. They finished 8-4 last year. Number 9 coming in with one of the greatest defenses coming back in college football this year. Number 9, the Oregon Ducks. They finished 4-3 last year with the COVID season. And again, the Pac-12 started late because they were not even going to play football at a time because of COVID. So that helped them, start out a little bit lower are a little bit slower. They didn't get all the football in. The Pac-12 conference started later last year because of COVID. And then coming in, Big C Sports top 10. They have Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, rounding out the top 10. Big C Sports preseason college football top 10. They finished 10-2 last year, and they were part of the ACC conference last year, and they're going back to their independent status this year. And then rounding out the top 15, number 11, Cincinnati, by number 12, Florida, number 13, Wisconsin, number 14, LSU, number 15, Miami. I may as well add in number 16, USC, number 17, Penn State, number 18, Iowa, number 19, Texas, and number 20, the Washington Huskies. And so we'll get more into that as we get into college football. I'll be doing some traveling around the West Coast, covering some Pac-12 and Mountain West Conference schools, as well as Big Sky schools, bringing you some preseason coverage of college football, talking to the coaches to see what their outlook is on the 2021 college football season. Also going to be doing some NFL coverage on every division in the NFC and the AFC. We'll bring that to you live on Big C Sports Podcast Monday through Friday. Also contemplating adding a Sunday show for NFL Kickoff, All's Fair, and Leavenworth. I just always appreciate everybody that's been a part of Big C Sports Podcast. Also, Carson Wentz out 5 to 12 weeks, depending on how he recovers from the surgery. Indianapolis Colts are looking at some backups. Everybody has their own opinion about how effective Carson Wentz will be. He's never really been healthy. And so we're looking for that $6 billion that we've been talking about with business partner of mine, manifesting that Ephesians 3:20, getting all these young kids all around the universe, whether you're the Olympics following Big C Sports, whether you're the NFL following Big C Sports, whether you're the NBA following Big C Sports, whether you're Major League Baseball following Big C Sports, whatever you do, just make sure you rise and shine. When you rise and shine, you always have a chance. No matter what you're going through, when you rise and shine, you have a chance. Never let anyone talk you out of rising and shine. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? As I always tell you, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe? You gotta have your dreams, like Walt Disney said. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. But you got to show up and you got to rise and shine. You can show up and rise and shine every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to the Olympic athletes, all are in Tokyo, Japan. Really appreciate that. As my mama always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.